Chapter 7. Farewell and a New Beginning. The Final Goodbye. The horizon had just begun to lighten, the sky shifting from black to deep indigo, hinting at the approach of dawn. The palace was still, save for the occasional whisper of sandals brushing against cool stone. Preparations for the burial journey would begin soon. Departure was scheduled for the morning after. Today, the garden was being prepared for a simple ceremony, a wedding, held on the final day before they departed. Dinah wrapped her shawl tighter around her shoulders as she walked through the eastern corridor. The air was cool, tinged with the scent of frankincense and cedar wood. Zilpah walked beside her in silence. They approached the chamber where Jacob, Israel, lay, his body carefully prepared for the journey to Canaan. Pharaoh's embalmers had honored him well. Linen wrapped him from shoulders to feet, his face peaceful beneath a soft burial cloth. The bier was raised slightly, adorned with simple reeds and olive branches. No guard stood at the door. Joseph had given them this time alone. Dinah stepped into the room first. Zilpah followed, her face pale but steady. For a long moment, Dinah stood still. The silence in the room was profound. Not the silence of absence, but of reverence. She approached the bier slowly, her fingers trembling as she reached out and laid a hand gently on the linen covering. She hesitated. Her throat tightened as old fears brushed against the edges of her resolve. Then, softly, "Abba," her voice caught. "You are going home." A single memory flickered, his hands guiding hers as a child, helping her shape clay into a small lamp by the fire. He had smiled at her then, a hint of pride in his eyes. Behind her, Zilpah stepped forward. Her face was drawn, aged with sorrow and strength. She placed a hand over Dinah's and spoke quietly. "He grieved for you, even if he didn't know how to say it." Dinah nodded, tears shining in her eyes. "I believe that now." She bent her head closer, her voice soft and gentle. "I wanted you to know I am not alone. A man has asked for my hand, not because of my name, but because of who I am. He has 2 little girls. I cannot give him more children, but I can teach the ones he has. I can give them Elohim." Zilpah smiled faintly. "You will be their mother in all the ways that matter." A long breath passed between them. Then Dinah stepped back. "Go in peace, Father," she whispered. "Your name will not be forgotten." Zilpah stepped forward last. She did not cry. Instead, she stood tall and spoke firmly. "I bore you sons. I walked beside you when no one else did. And I will not walk with you to the cave, but I send my prayers before you. May you rest well with Abraham and Isaac." Together the 2 women turned and walked out into the pale morning light. The wedding in the garden. As the sun climbed higher, the garden was prepared. Simple linen cloths fluttered in the breeze, and a woven canopy of reeds and date fronds marked the place where the ceremony would be held. Joseph and Asenath had kept it small, only close family and a few trusted friends from Pharaoh's household. Dinah stood near the garden wall, the same shawl around her shoulders. This time, it was not for mourning, but for modesty and dignity. Her gown was simple but clean, the pale color echoing the hues of early spring. Her soon-to-be husband, Horem, waited under the canopy with his 2 daughters. Nari, age 8, stood straight and proud beside him, her small hands clasped in front of her. Kaya, just 6, shifted from foot to foot with excitement, a crown of jasmine and rosemary resting askew on her curls. Joseph stepped forward, acting not as a vizier but as a brother. standing beside Dinah with a calm, joyful pride in his eyes. He looked over at Horem and said quietly, "You've chosen well." Horem bowed his head respectfully. "So has she." The ceremony was simple, intimate. Joseph raised his voice only enough to be heard by those gathered. "Today, we bless a union, not born of ambition or youth, but of courage and kindness. Dinah, daughter of Israel, has endured much, and today she steps forward, not as one who was cast out, but as one who is cherished." He turned to Horem. "You receive her not as property, but as partner, as wisdom, and as witness to the God who sees all." Horem stepped forward and gently took Dinah's hand. "I do not seek more children," she said clearly, her eyes looking with his. "But I will raise your daughters in the fear of Elohim. I will love them as my own." "And I will honor you as my equal," Horem replied. "And my daughters will know what it is to be loved by a mother who speaks truth." Joseph turned to the girls. "Nari, Kaya, do you accept Dinah into your family?" Nari nodded solemnly. "Yes." Kaya gave a toothy grin and ran to wrap her arms around Dinah's waist. Laughter rose among the guests. Asenath stepped forward with a small clay jar of fragrant oil. She anointed Dinah's forehead and whispered a prayer of blessing. "May your household be one of peace. May your years ahead be gentler than those behind you." The breeze stirred the reeds at the edge of the garden, carrying the faint trill of bird song and the rustle of palm fronds. Somewhere nearby, a small harp played a quiet melody, its notes blending with the laughter of children. Ephraim stepped forward and gently kissed Dinah's cheek, his eyes shining with warmth. Manasseh placed a hand on her shoulder and bowed respectfully. Neither spoke, but their gestures spoke volumes. Acceptance, honor, family. As warmth spread across the garden and laughter filled the air, Dinah looked down at Kaya's hand in hers and Nari's wide, watchful eyes and felt, for the first time in decades, entirely home. The brothers had not come. Duty and preparation called them elsewhere, readying the caravan for dawn. But they had sent word, their well wishes folded into linen and sealed with their names. For Dinah, that alone was a kind of mending. And Zilpah, silent and steady in the shade, was enough. She had been there for the casting out. She had wept when Leah could not. And now she stood witness to the welcome home, not as a servant, but as the woman who had mothered Dinah when no one else did. Joseph raised the goblet. "To new beginnings, to family," Asenath added. Dinah glanced toward the garden's edge, catching Zilpah's smile. She nodded, emotion welling in her chest. She remembered those arms, how they had held her close through her childhood sorrows, through shame and in silence. They had never let go. And Zilpah, eyes bright, murmured a final blessing beneath her breath. "To the daughter of Israel and Leah, may she rise in joy."
You've been listening to the Moses Chronicles Prelude, narrated by M. McIntosh. To explore the full audiobook, purchase it in digital or printed form, or discover companion writings, visit moseschronicles.com. For more sacred fiction, subscribe and journey with us through promises, exile, and deliverance. New chapters are released weekly. Until then, may the quiet still speak.